when you looked at Dieppe, all you could see the traces, and it was just thick. It was just thick.
When you're going in on the target, sometimes you'd be flying at different altitudes, so you wouldn't collide with each other.
I glanced around to my right and I saw two German helmets coming up out of the trench. So I just put the stun gun around and pulled the trigger.
I couldn't understand a word they were saying, but judging from the pointing and the discussion, they're deciding whether to shoot me on the spot.
There was Spitfires lined up, winged up. They just went down and set them all afire. Our airfield got hit pretty hard.
We never lost a battle. They might have been held, they might have been pushed back, but they took over.
I'm Merritt Richardson, Merritt Lionel Richardson, and I was with the Black Watch overseas.
What was the feeling here in Canada about what was happening there?
It was always sort of a scary feeling. I remember going to school and listening to the reports from over in Germany, and the young fellows that were at that age that might be going to the war, they were all talking about what they were going to do. They were going to hide when they come looking for them and all this sort of thing. And most of them, there were some of our boys who were in the same class as I was in at the time. They were killed out here in the harbor with the German U-boats. Yeah, the Mumricat boys and a few of the other boys. I can't remember their names now, but they had a rough time.
So they would have been in the convoys?
Yeah, the convoys, yeah. Okay. And you know, at one time here, I was telling this to some other people, I had a bicycle and I went up and down from the edge of the pier right down to the South Bar wharf down there, and counted the ships in the harbor at that time, and there was over 300.
Do you recall when war was declared? Do you remember where you were and how you heard about it?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. I was home on the farm with my father. My father was a milkman that delivered milk through the Pier District, and I remember hearing that on the news. The war was declared, and I was scared. All the people were crying, some of them, and disappointed and everything. And I used to wonder myself, what was it like overseas? Do they have the same sun, the same moon as we do, or the same trees and so on like that? And you know, when the war broke out, I joined, I suppose it was months after the war broke out, I joined the war.
Who did you join up with when you joined? Which, was there a particular regiment, or you just joined up general service?
No, I went to Halifax to join up, and I never had a license. I never had a birth certificate at the time, and I went to Halifax, and when they wouldn't accept me because I didn't have my birth certificate, they sent me home again. So I come back home, and one day I just got fed up with being around and seeing all the other young fellas going, and I was staying here. I went to Halifax again, and I joined up and I joined the army. And from then on, I went training in Halifax. I was there for a few weeks. The sergeant that had us on the drill, and we had a sergeant major there too. And the old sergeant major used to tell us stories about being overseas and so on like that. And he used to say to us, he said, "You know, young fella," he said, "you're going overseas," he said, "and just remember one thing," he said, "that the enemy can be just as smart as you are. Don't take them for granted," he said, "and you'll be all right." And you know, that's something that stuck with me all the years. And I never had a German, never met one German that I didn't like there, you know, in that camp that we were in. They were all, you know, they'd talk to you and ask you questions and so on like that, but they weren't, you know, they weren't trying to beat us or knock us all the time or anything.
Can you tell me how that went and what you saw, what you experienced, what it was like fighting against the Germans the very first time?
Well, that very first time I was involved with the Germans was just after, well, just before we got into Caen. And we were into this place, Frankville, and there was a big garage, I guess it was. Like it might have been a bus garage or something. There was a lot of space in it and everything like that. And we're in there, and we had our officer put us on guard one night, and we had a parade around Frankville. The few of us that were on guard, like there'd be one of us would be going one way, another fella going another way, and I was on that duty that night, and I was going around. I came around a hedge, and something grabbed me by the feet. And at that time, it was. They always told us we had to watch that because the Germans would be waiting, laying by a hedge, and you walk by, they'd grab you by the feet, knock you down. And that when that grabbed me by the foot, or what appeared to be grabbing me, I made a big kick at it, and I hit it. I kicked it, and I couldn't see what it was or anything else. I didn't know whether it was a German or what it was. But anyway, in the morning, the first place I went was back to that corner to see what happened. And it had a big, I guess it was a hedgehog. It was pretty big size, you know. Maybe about a small dog, I guess. And I had killed it. And I was thinking after, Lordy be, if that had been a German, I'd have got out of that one. But whatever, I don't know whether the hedgehog grabbed at my pants or what, but it just seemed like somebody grabbed me by the feet. And I made a big kick. Of course, we were told that, you know, time and time again, that if you do get caught by that, kick it or whatever, if you could kick it, knock it, you know, you might save your life.
That's it.
Well, I didn't save my life. I didn't help him any. No.
After hearing those stories, you're going to be kicking pretty hard, so.
Oh yeah, that's the fact.
Yeah.
And you had to, you know, you're not going to get the second chance. You'd always, so I said, everything that happens, it happens for a reason, and you got to be on your toes. Yeah.
Now, that was just before Caen that this happened.
Yeah.
Your first experience with the Germans.
That's the first, yeah.
And now tell me, when you're going up to Caen,
Yeah.
Did you experience the bombers flying over and dropping the bombs on Caen? Did you see that happen? Or?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, we didn't go into Caen right off the bat, because at that time, if I remember correct, there was a lot of bombing and strafing, and it didn't have to be in the night for them. They'd come over, all of a sudden there'd be a squadron of them. We used to lay down in the field outside of the barracks and lay down there and watch the dogfights at night. And you could see when every time they're firing the ammunition, it's right bright, eh? And oh boy.
Just like a show.
You're not kidding. And you know, when you think of it after, I said, Lord be, that ammunition that they're firing, that's got to come down too. It's not only go up.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that more of us didn't get hit because, you know, and I don't know what it is about when you're young and in good shape, you're scared of nothing.
Now, tell me about leading up to Con. What are they telling you to expect from the Germans? As far as a fighting force goes, what are they telling you about them? Anything or?
Well, most of the time they're warning us about stuff. You know, we're marching up the road, and they wouldn't allow you to march like two walking alongside of each other, or they get you spaced. They put 6, I think there were 6 in the first group and 6 in another group behind that, but there's a space between you, you know, so that if a sniper fires and hits one of them in one group, the rest know just exactly what to do then, you know, and that's the way pretty well. The odd time you get caught with that, but I wasn't in any group that did get caught and get mowed down, you know. But we'd always had that on our minds when you're walking into the enemy territory, and you go in and you see things moving up in windows, and you don't know what's going to come next.
You're on high alert.
Oh yeah, on high alert is right.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Now, when you think back and you think about everything that's going on around you, are you seeing many German tanks? Are you seeing many vehicles like disabled and blown up and all that kind of stuff? Are you seeing much of that? Really?
Not a great deal.
Okay.
When you're going, because most of them tanks, German tanks especially, they get camouflaged so much, and they get in the bushes or something other, and first thing you know, they open fire on something. And one German tank I remember going into. This was earlier when we first landed there. It was just, I think it was around Frankfurt there somewhere, and there was a tank there, and somebody had hit it with a shell, and the fellow was sitting there, and I'm not lying to you, there's no legs from there down, you just right off like that, and all up here is gone, your arms and everything else. Just the chest and stomach and that part of the legs was all that was sitting there in the tank. Got hit with one of them fire bombs, I guess, or something other, and it wouldn't. You imagine, he wouldn't have. He just hoped that he wasn't alive when it hit, because if he did, boy, he must have suffered a lot. He'd be in the tank and he couldn't move.
Yeah.
Arms and legs both gone. Yeah.
Not very good memories, eh?
No, it's not good memories. No, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, and I apologize for bringing this.
Oh,
this
that's
back.
all right, buddy. Some people say you don't mind talking about it. No, because I said when I reminded, I said that I realized then that it's I'm okay. I'm out of that.
Tell me about Con. Tell me about when you went into Con and that second experience with the Germans. What was that like? I've never been there. I've never seen it.
No.
Try to get it.
Con wasn't too bad when we got in there. The group that war is funny, you know. The group that beat the Germans the second time, we were with them, but we weren't into the, like, I don't know how to explain this. You're going your group was going up towards Con, and you're going into Con. Now, the group that was there ahead of you, they had taken over Con, like, you know, and they had control of it. So when we were marching in there, it was pretty well under our troops. You know, they'd be stationed here and there and so on like that. But you still had to go in and relieve some of the guys that are there, and well, you know, they're everyday, sort of an everyday affair of going into places like that. And yeah, well, I know one thing that we had quite often, it's hard to remember them all, but when you go into them places, there's still some live Germans on different parts of it, hiding out someplace. And first thing you know, there's a bullet whizzing by you or hitting one of your guys, you know, snipers. And they're fellows that are sort of daredevils. They hang back and to defeat the last soldier that they can, yeah. But it gives plenty to think about.
Do you remember your first encounter with the Germans as far as actually firing back and forth and the battle?
No, I can't. I remember one time we were into, it was around that area, we were into an old home that was vacant, and when we went in, we were told that you go into that place and one of you go in the left corner, another one in the right corner, and square off so that each fella's covering the other part, you know. Like if we were in this building, one fella'd be there, he'd be watching what's behind me, and I'd be watching what's behind this fella, you know. And that's pretty much the way it was, and it was really scary, you know, because you don't know, and you find fellas that are really rare to go, you know, and some of them, I remember one fellow in particular, one of our own guys, he was there with us, and he was standing up over on the side like that, watching back there, and he had the rifle leaning on his side like this against the wall, and he was sound asleep. I didn't see him, but with the fellow that was watching from the opposite side, he seen him, and he said, I didn't know what to do. He said, I was scared to death. He said to holler at him to wake up or anything, because it might wake him and he might jump or get a scare, you know. And he said, that gun, he's liable to grab that gun and start spraying, you know. Yeah. But all in all, you know, you run into some queer situations, but I don't know, you're lucky if you come out of it at all, because there's so much stuff bombing and strafing all the time, you know. I remember one place we were trapped by the snipers, had us pinned down it's just between Mazeroarn and St. Martin's. They had us pinned down there we went in around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was about 6 o'clock when we got out of there. They just stayed, and every God blessed bit of ammunition them fellows could fire at us. I said, I think they fired it. I said, must have been tons of it. Every bullet that'd go over your head, you'd hear the snap as it passed your head, and your cap would go down like that. and you're pinned down like that for 3 hours or more, and Christ, you're wondering, where in the Christ did they get the ammunition? And you couldn't see nothing. If you poked your head up at all, somebody'd get you, you know. And we were going into between Mazeroarn and St. Martin, going in there, and we were laying down, and we were pinned down like that. And a friend of mine from Ontario, he hollered, Rich, get up, get up. He said, the tank is right behind you. He said, he's going to run right over you. Tank was coming up behind us, and if you don't get up when that tank and stuff is going on, they just keep going. They're not going to stop, put themselves in danger of being hit. So, but when I get up, I got up, and I'm looking right in the barrel of the tank gun. It looks like it was looking right at me. Oh, talk about scared. I said, geez, if he lets that go, they'll never find me. Honest to goodness, boy, it just scared the life out of you.
And that was one of our own tanks.
That's one, yeah.
One of our own tanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it makes you wonder how many guys didn't see the tank.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
One fella, you know how the hedges, they come up and they go like that. And this fella went in there, and a bomb hit right in there where he was. There wasn't enough left of him. Just blew everything to pieces. Fence and all, you know.
He didn't feel a thing.
No, he'd never know what hit him. No, the explosion itself would kill him, I guess, you know.
When did you join up with the Black Watch? When were you become a member of the Black Watch?
When I went to, well, first we went to Frankville, and we were in there for part of the time training, but it wasn't, we weren't right in that action at that time. We were close enough, but we weren't involved in the battle, you know. But later on, when we went to, I think with one of our first real battles was in Caen, and well, we got out of, we were chased out of, the Germans chased out of there the first time, and we were in the second group that went back there, tried to take it. And we succeeded with taking over Caen again, and then moved. You keep moving up, you know.
Tell me what it was like going through Caen, and when you finally drove the Germans out of Caen. What was it? What was that like going through there?
Well, I guess they had our own group. They'd line up. They'd all have we'd have maybe 20 or 30 soldiers there, all with their weapons and everything drawn. And they'd start at one end of the town and watching as they went along different places, you know. If they saw any Germans there, they'd either shoot them or scatter them so that they tell them to get.
Yeah.
And they'd all, as soon as they'd see the soldiers coming anyway, they'd all get out of town themselves, and they'd take off through the woods and places or anything, you know. They didn't know how to get to their homes, and they'd get out of there as soon as they. But it's scary, but there's a lot of queer things that happen. I was just trying to think of between Major Orne that afternoon. Holy mackerel, boy! What the ammunition they fired at us! Everything was blown to pieces.
Now, in that particular time that you're talking about, did you lose any guys there, or?
Oh yeah, I lost some of my best friends. Alan Perryman, I was one of them, and different boys there with me. And it's a funny thing about Alan Perryman. When I woke up that morning and come out of our barracks, he was leaning against the building like this, standing with his gun and everything. And I said to him, "Perry, what's the trouble?" And he just nodded his head. I said, "What's the matter, Perry?" I said, "You're not worried about going home, are you?" "Yes," he said, "I am." He said, "I don't think I'm going." And that afternoon he was killed. You know, it's funny, he just had that feeling. And as soon as they come out in the morning and he was leaning against the building there, I said, "Geez, something bothering him," because fellow was always quite active and ready to go, yeah.
It's a
And
shame.
my God, he got hit right in the back. One of the mortars, I guess, hit him right in the back. And when I looked at him, I didn't recognize him. And him and I were good friends. We used to go down skating in Brighton and different places like that. We were on vacation and everything. and I didn't recognize him. And I said to one of the fellows there, I said, who was that fellow? And he told me who he was. I said, Perryman, oh, you dying. And when he passed, he said, looked at us and he said, I see they got you two fellas, like that. And he was on the tank, and the German fellow said to him, he said, we're going to take him to the hospital, but we don't think there's anything we can do for him. But they, you know, he's going to take him in anyway.
That was the German?
German, yeah. He said, we're going to take him to the hospital. But he said, we don't think there's anything we can do for him.
Yeah.
Well, no wonder. He had a, where the bomb hit him on the back was as big as a pie plate. Just black jelly, you know. I don't know, he couldn't have been feeling anything. That must have shattered all his nerves.
Which would be a good thing, I guess.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
War is ironic, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
here we are, we're trying to kill each other, and then
Yeah.
when we take each other to the hospital to try to fix
Yeah,
it, you know.
isn't it true, yeah?
Yeah.
And the Germans were good like that. A lot of, you know, a lot of people hated them. I tell you the straight truth. I left over there, I was over there for 3 years, and I said, I don't hate any of them. I knew that they had to do, and they didn't have it as good as we did. None of our officers would tell us, look, to go and shoot this one or shoot that one. They wouldn't do that. But them fellas, they tell them to do this, and if they didn't do it, they'd be shot. Sure. Yeah. One fellow, the guy is still living. He's in Westmount somewhere, and I don't know where he is now. But he told me, he said, Rich, he said, my buddy and I were sitting on top of this hill, he said, and we were having a smoke. And he said, we looked down in the village, and he said, we were watching there for a while, and he said, all of a sudden I heard the click of a gun. And he said, I turned and looked at my buddy, and he cocked the gun, and he was aiming at a girl that come out to help a wounded soldier outside of their house. And he said, I told him, I said, put that gun down. He said, don't be so foolish. He said, the war is over for her and them. He said, what good is it going to do anybody to shoot her? You know, you're not doing anybody any good to kill that person for nothing.
And you live with it for the rest of your life?
You live with it the rest of your life. And I said, oh, yeah, I said, it's funny. I said, I got a different view altogether than when I first went over. I said, the Germans, I said, they're people like ourselves. I said, there's good ones and there's bad ones. And I said, it'll always be the same, I guess. But I said, I'm not going to put myself down in that category at all. I said, I've got to have a good reason for it, you know, to go there shooting at somebody. I remember my officer one morning, he said to me, he told me to go and get a bucket of fresh water and a dipper and give they had about 20 or 30 prisoners there in the building. And he said, give them a drink. He said, it's a warm day. He said, they're likely thirsty. So I did that. And when I got about the 7th fella, he hit the dipper and knocked it flying out of my hand like that. And flying, the water went all over the place. And the officer said to me, he said, what did you do? I said, nothing. He said, you never hit him? No, I never hit him. And I didn't say anything to him either. I said, I went over and picked up the dipper, wrenched it off, and went to the next fella. And the next fella took the dipper and drank. But I said, I never said anything to him. I said, if that guy's living today, that's bothering him. I said, I couldn't get mad at him. He's a prisoner the same as I am. And I said, he could be hurting a lot worse than I am. I don't know, he might have, who knows, when he was taken prisoner, he might have lost his wife or his children or something other, who knows? I said, I don't know that, and I couldn't ask him, I couldn't talk to him.
Can you tell me about what led up to you being taken prisoner, and tell me about what that experience was like and what happened? How did you become prisoner?
Now, I gotta think on this
Well,
one.
you take your time.
I remember that we were going into battle that afternoon, and
Do you remember where it was? Which area it was?
yeah, it was after we left Con. After, I guess we were going up, likely up towards St. Martin's in that area. But we were going up there, and all of a sudden everybody starts getting shells hitting around you, and guys get hit and killed and so on like that. And you drop to the ground, and you're waiting and for something to happen, and you got to try and look and see where the enemy's fire is coming from and everything. And in this afternoon, where we were pinned down, there was sort of a railway track going down, a big long stretch of road going into this place, and they were on the other side of the track, up into the houses, and we were way down on the lower side, and they could see us because they were above us and looking sort of over us, and they had us pinned down, and they kept us there for about 3 hours, and finally when the tank came, when we were captured, when they took us all, the tank left, and Christ knows where it went. It might have gone back into battle or something other. But it was all over after about 3 hours. When they pin you down like that, there's nothing you can do. You lay there, and if you get hit, you get hit. You know, if you stand up, like the fellow that told me the tank was coming, he said, Rich, he said, don't stand up. He said, don't stand up. He said, if you raise yourself above the ground, I will. He said, somebody will get you a sniper, and that's the way it was, you know. And they did. They got quite a few of us.
So when you were taken prisoner, tell me about what happened after. Where did they take you? And was it the German army, or was it the SS that took you? Do you know who they were?
The SS. They take in. They come. 2 or 3 of them will be with their weapons and everything like that. And they come and they don't leave any doubt in their mind that they shoot you if you don't do what they're told. You know. They took us. They put us in a barn, an old building, and that's part of it. We were put in this building and kept there, and what we found out, we climbed up in the building. We climbed up in the upper part of it, and here they had all kinds of hay on the floor, over the floor. We laid down and we went to sleep there and when we woke up in the morning, we were sleeping on all potatoes underneath the hay. It was loaded with potatoes, and we took our potatoes and took a bucket and took the potatoes and cooked them and ate the whole bucket. Now you imagine, 2 of us, a whole bucket. But of course, I said they weren't very big potatoes. I guess they kept all the good ones for themselves. But anyway.
Well, you got something. That's
I
what
got
matters.
something out of it.
Yeah. Now, when you went to you were in a camp. Which camp were you taken to?
Stalag 13.
Okay.
That's where we were wound up. Stalag 13, and in Stalag 13, we were told the night before that they were going to move us out of there, and we didn't know whether they would or not, you know. But anyway, in the middle of the night, this is no lie, as true as I'm here, they were in the middle of the night, they woke us all up in our own barracks, and they told us that Hitler gave orders not to let any of us go to see that we were shot. And they come in that night to tell us that in the morning we were going to be taken out and shot. And we had two fellows of the Red Beret, the Canadians, Brownberger and Reisnick, two of them. And they got into an argument with the officers in there, and the officer got wild because they'd argue with him and tell him that. And they told him, look, they said, boy, you let anything happen to one of these fellows, any one of them, he said, you let anything happen to one of them, he said, and our boys know that we're in here, and they'll get you. And he said, not only will they get you fellows, but they'll get your wives and children too. He said, they won't leave one of you. And said, yeah, what did you know? The morning came, and they moved us out. We went on that long march, big long march that was there. The bluff worked on them, yeah. But the two fellows, Reisnick and Brownberger, they both spoke German, and they could lay it on to him, you know. And I tell you, he backed down pretty quick when he knew that if they hurt any of them, that they'd be looking for them after.
And more so their family.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's the thing that scared them when they said their families, you know. Being soldiers and used to of rough stuff, they might not bother them, but when they said they get, not only will they get you fellas, but they'll get your families. That's when it hit home, yeah. And they moved us out pretty quick in the morning. no more arguing about that.
How long did it last, and where did you march to?
Well, we marched all that night. The rest of the night we marched, and it was snowing and everything. And every so often they'd stop to rest, if you know, because it was heavy traveling and snow and everything. And you'd lay right down in the snow right where you were and try to rest a bit, you know. And then after a while they'd get you up again and go again. And you know what a funny part about it? We'd be walking along the highways, and every once in a while something would bump you. And here people were coming down out of their houses, they're up in the hills, come down and pass you a piece of bread, or give you a bump, you know, like that, a cookie, or not a cookie. They never had cookies, mostly biscuits or something, a piece of bread or something other like that. But they'd shove that in your hand and they'd take off back up the hill. And I guess, you know, when they think of it, there's good people everywhere. Those people, if the Germans saw them giving us food like that, they'd shoot them right there. Yeah. But they'd risk that. And, yeah.
What did that tell you when you saw that happening?
Yeah.
How did it make you feel?
It made us feel pretty good. We used to think, you know, well, that's why I say the Germans themselves, there was lots of them that were good people too.
Now, how long were you marching for, Merritt?
Well, I don't know how long that would take us. I suppose, well, most of a day anyway. We'd be going through all sort of back roads, they wouldn't be right out in the city or town or anything, all over the hills and stuff like that. Yeah.
Where were you when you finally were liberated?
When they're liberated, we were in.
Was it in Germany or?
Yeah, oh yeah,
it was
in Germany.
Okay.
Yeah, they took I got ahead of myself there. What happened was that then after that, we run into some Americans, and the Americans, we went back with them to their place, and they made arrangements with the Canadian forces. They get in contact with them and pick us up, and that's the way we went with the Americans until they took us back, and then they took us back to England. Took us to they stripped us all off our clothes, every bit of our clothes, and put us in a shower sort of, and then we went back, they shipped us to England. We went back to England with English stuff. And I remember one fella from the pier, he was there, and I knew him, and in fact, had delivered milk to his home in the pier, and he said, I'll take you in there. He said, go in and sit down. He said, and I'll get some food for you. And they gave us, he got all kinds of food for us to have, and they made arrangements then, and they put us in sort of, I don't know, a sort of a place, I guess, where you could rest and build you up a bit, give you some good food, and get you,
Get your strength back.
Get your stuff.
Now, we've got about 2 minutes left here. I told you it would go by fast. How would you best describe your time overseas?
I found it very good. It was war, all right, but I mean, I was there before I was captured. We were traveling around. Well, I spent a lot of time in Brighton, England, and it was good. We used to, every night we'd go down to leave the barracks and go down. And I remember always the guys, all the fellows that were in our barracks, everybody would say, well, they'd chip in and give some money to one guy or two guys. They'd go down to the case and get what do they call them? It was food that they had anyway, and we'd always sit down and get that every evening, and it was good. They were always good. The people were good to us too. You'd go down there, and when you were a Canadian, they'd do anything for you,
Before we leave, I want to say thank you very much for coming along and being a part of this.
The pleasure is all mine, buddy.
I appreciate that. Most importantly, I want to say thank you very much for your service and your sacrifice.
Well, thank you. I hope I didn't make a mess of things.